Hey kids, it's me, Johnny Foxx, here with the first Fox Tales of 2025. And have I got some tales for you? Well, not me. Not me. Well, I've always got tales for you, but I'm going to try and shut the fuck up and let this guy tell you some Fox Tales. Why not? I'm just going to hand it straight over. Why don't you tell the kids at home a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Hi, although I don't actually look like it right this minute, my name is, well, my act's name is Dame Fawn Denier, and I'm a comedy drag artiste based in Yorkshire. I live in Doncaster, and I do a comedy routine with lots of audience participation and baiting and roasting and pee taking. Are we allowed to swear? I know
Oh,
you
of course
just did swear,
you
so
can.
I can
Go for
swear
it.
then. Like it's just hard. Sometimes you don't know when you can swear and when you can't.
Yeah.
So like if I can, it won't really matter. I won't have to think about it. So yeah, I do lots of that kind of thing. Also, I'm a musician as well. I write my own music mainly for my act, but also other things as well. And I just have a new song out at the moment. I don't know whether Johnny you've heard it or not, but it's not comedy related at all. It's kind of, quite serious really.
It's
So that's
absolutely fantastic, is what it is.
oh,
It's
thank you.
it's been on quite a lot this week. In the Fox's Den,
Oh, is it?
we've been giving that quite a spin. So we should let everybody know. Yeah. So music wise, you can pretty much, if you want to check this out, as we said, it's Dame Fawn Denier. Um, to that on
Very lovely French
John.
accent there,
It's
yes.
it's up on it's mind you, is that am I allowed to do that?
Yeah,
Post
of course.
Brexit, am I gonna get in trouble for that? um,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
We're always Europe. I'm always a European.
yeah. Well, anyway,
Let's not get
yeah. So
into a
that's
conversation
that's
about
that's up
Brexit,
on
for God's sake.
you've got the music up on
It's on
Spotify
everywhere, yeah.
and
It's the latest,
everywhere,
everywhere. The
everywhere.
latest song, YouTube, of course. So the latest song is called "Leave Behind,"
Leave behind.
and yeah, and it's got a very arty picture of me on the cover. So you go ahead and try and find that and give it a listen. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. It's like I say, it's not a comedy song. It's very much quite a melancholy
Yeah.
affair, really. I was inspired to write it from watching some videos, actually, some YouTube videos on music theory and chord progressions. And one particular video looks at the very common chord progression that was satirized by the comedy band Axis of Awesome when they sang loads of different songs using the same four chords. And so what I did, I tried to challenge myself to write a new song completely unique, and which I've done. But then the words turned out to be quite a serious sort of subject. If you haven't heard it, go and listen to it, and then then you'll understand what I'm saying. But the majority of my music is more light-hearted comedy songs, really. One of my popular songs in my act is called "She Couldn't Get Dick Out of Richard." So that's quite a popular one, and I've done lots of things. I did a one called "Don't You Feel Sorry for People Called Karen," which was a piss take of that the Karen meme. So that's another
Yeah.
funny one to look out for. But I'm coming up with ideas for music all the time. So I don't. I think I'm going to be looking at comedy and maybe a bit of political satire in some music. I think this year there's been so much. I mean, you can't really satirize politics really because it just does it itself, does it for you. I mean, it's like
Yeah, it's
gone are the days,
certainly in recent
gone are the
times.
days,
It's
gone are
easy
the days when we
pickings.
needed gone are the days when we needed Spitting Image to give us comedy satire. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm showing my age now, but like I was a massive fan of Spitting Image in the
yeah,
80s. I was like, I was hooked on it, and it was just brilliant. But now, I mean, it's so far-fetched what our politicians do and say that you don't need to have it satirized. You can make half of it up. What happens?
yeah.
And if you thought a new government would make things better, well, actually, I'm afraid not. It hasn't. It's probably
It's yeah,
just as good dire as it was before, but with different people doing it.
yeah,
But yeah, then there's a whole issues with social media as well, and that's another thing. I mean that could be satirized quite easily.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
can
But
make
I
up
mean,
half of.
social media's a. It's like I understand, people's fears and anxieties, and people with young children and etc. Like I get it, but and God knows there's some horrible shit around, but it only mirrors life. Yes, it can amplify, and yes, people can hide somewhat, be behind fake profiles, usernames, and what have you. But you know, people who do bad things online are people who
I like
pretty much do bad things in
they
real life.
are exactly. Yeah,
It,
that is the
it's
key to
not.
it, and I think people do some people do hide behind a fake profile, or some people very little content behind, so you can't really see much about them, but a lot of them don't.
No.
Whenever I have my music or anything featured in our local newspaper, you can guarantee that within minutes of it appearing on their Facebook page, you'll have all these like trolls on it, and
Yeah.
they're the same people every single time. And I've checked other anything that's slightly alternative. That the paper's very, the Doncaster Free Press is very supportive. It will give people, airtime, for want of a better
Yeah.
phrase. But all the same gammony type right wingers, lunatics
Yeah.
will always pounce on it as if they're waiting for something to moan
Yeah.
about,
Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
part of
As you say, the speed with which they're ready
yeah.
to jump out of
uh,
those bushes on you just really shows that they've got nothing else to do.
yeah, I mean,
They really need a hobby, like, well, another
or
hobby, a better one, a more
something to
productive
fulfill
one.
themselves. Yeah, there definitely something more fulfilling in their
Yeah,
lives rather than just being a keyboard warrior. And it's all very well making light-hearted, jokey comments about something that you see online,
yeah,
but a lot of them aren't. I mean, you look at all the people that have been really nasty about the Vivian since they
yeah,
died. I mean,
yeah,
it's disgusting. And like him or loathe him, Sakir Starmer's brother died.
yeah,
A few weeks ago, and the amount of vitriol that people were writing, we're saying, "I wish it was, the prime
yeah,
minister that
yeah,
died." What is unbelievable? What actually goes through people's minds, and they think that it's perfectly okay to write things. But if I saw any of these people, would never ever dare to say it to my face. I mean, like none of them,
mm.
and because why would you argue with a drag queen? You
But,
wouldn't. You would really be wasting your time.
yeah, I mean, how did how did that genesis in you? How did that be a thing
Oh
where you thought I could do
well,
that? Like,
well, yes. I mean, like years ago, we're talking probably 30 years ago, when I came out as gay, and I used to go around a lot of the gay pubs and stuff in London, and there was a lot always drag acts on, and I was a bit kind of like intrigued by it all, and I've always been into performing in one way or another. I mean, formally or informally, and it was something like I found quite intriguing. The idea of actually being a different persona is something that appealed to me, and like you could like be sort of I could be Adrian, and then I can be something else. And really, it's just an extent. What I do now is really an extension of my personality, but obviously I can't get away with some of the stuff I get away with in character that I could do dressed like this, for example, and it wouldn't be as funny. I mean, like, I'd like to think I am quite amusing, but I mean, I'm just not as amusing just as a man than I am dressed up
yeah,
as a drag act.
it's whatever it takes. I mean, to get into the appropriate the headspace and
Yeah,
the motivation, the confidence. I know from my days pretending to be a rock star, which was very much pretending. Just to, I mean, I didn't particularly uh, dress any different, didn't really go in for any face paint or any of that kind of stuff. But there was very much like the me you might meet afterwards.
Yeah.
might seem quite
I mean, I think
disappointing
no.
after watching me for an hour
No, I don't
on
know. I would
stage,
have
you know.
thought no, I wouldn't have thought so. But it's different, isn't it?
It's,
Then you're. I mean, even if you look, if you do look like a rock star. I mean, you have the rock star aura, with the hair and the beard and everything
it's
else.
lazy. That's
Is it
laziness,
like,
is what that aura
isn't it?
is.
Oh,
That's
is it?
just
That's what it is.
that's
That's
low
what it is.
maintenance.
No, I mean, it looks too. That looks too hard to maintain that level of laziness. I mean, there's some kind of effort goes into keeping it like that, I'm sure. But yeah, but everyone has their own, has a stage persona, whether they're the same name or, I mean, there's lots of other acts obviously that take a different name when they're
Yeah,
performing, and they become, in a way, that person or that entity when they're on stage. And I think that's a perfectly acceptable thing to do. You don't have to give everything away. You
yeah,
can keep things
yeah,
yourself, as your own your own person, right? And then you can do other things like when you're on stage or when you're performing, and I think that's perfectly acceptable. But we're veering off, aren't we?
yeah.
So
It's
yes,
what
about
we do.
30 years ago, and I kind of
It's
thought, oh, I could try and do this,
fantastic. No,
and I was
it's
like rubbish. I was absolutely awful when I first started. I didn't know what I wanted to do on stage. I
yeah,
thought I wanted to do something, and it was like horrendous. And I called myself Fascinating Ada because obviously my name's Adrian, and it was a play on words with the comedy trio Fascinating Aida. But the thing is, I wasn't particularly fascinating, me and a friend changed it, and then it changed it to Fawn Denier because of the tights and blah blah blah. And so I was Fawn Denier for quite a few years, and then I think it was 1998. I developed a very bad kind of like throat infection thing that stopped me from speaking, let alone singing or doing anything for quite some time, and I kind of just got out of the habit
yeah,
of doing it. And then a few years later, moved to Yorkshire. Never thought I'd be doing anything like it. But then, around the time of my 50th birthday, we decided to have like a 1920s, 30s themed 50th party. And one of the things I did was like a song and dance number with the local burlesque ladies. And then I kind of got into thinking, oh, maybe I would quite like to do this
yeah,
again. So I thought of it and I decided that I would. And so about 8 months later, did a show at the local golf club, and it went down quite well. And then COVID happened, and then it kind of put on hold. Everything got put on hold again, so I had to rethink about what I wanted to do. So I got into writing my own songs rather than just singing other people's. I'd already started doing parodies, and I'd written a parody of the song "Tomorrow" from Annie. And it's now called Your Mum Will Come Out Tomorrow. Um, so I did that, and then I
yeah,
thought, well, what else can I do? Because I was sat at home, we couldn't really do much. I mean,
yeah,
I was sat at home not being creative, and I thought, oh, what can I do? And so I started writing songs, both lyrics and music. And my first one was called Nothing to Do, and it was like a satire, a piss take of the five towns in Wakefield. So you've got Nottingley, Featherstone, Castleford, Pontefract, and Wakefield, of course, itself. And so I wrote this one called Nothing to Do, and it just basically satirised all the different parts of so it was quite popular, quite like locally nichey, but
yeah,
yeah. So then I sort of getting in. Then I wrote a Christmas song for 2021, and that was very popular. I just kept going, and then the Karen one came, and now I'm on. This is number 15 that
yeah.
is out now. So it's taken a life of its own, really. People now ask me, when's my next one coming out? Oh, don't know, better go and write one. So but yeah,
Yeah,
but I have got some.
that's fantastic though. When you work in, not that it necessarily feels like work, but when you're working and you're pushing and you're promoting and you're trying to get whatever it is that you do out there, and then like when there comes that point when people kind of start coming to you, whether
Yeah,
they're asking you to do something for them to book you for a performance or whatever, or just asking when your next show is
yeah,
or your next
yeah,
release
they
is.
do. I mean,
It's
people ask
fantastic
me, like,
feeling.
Yeah, and I mean, I do as well as doing this. My other job is actually deliver parcels for Every, and so a lot of the people I deliver to regularly, I deliver in the same village every day, and they're always like, asking me about songs and singing to me when I answer. Maybe not this new one, but they like this new one, but they don't really sing it to me. But other
Yeah.
ones, I've answered, people have answered the door singing one of my songs, which is amazing. I mean,
Oh, yeah, that must be wonderful.
which is quite funny. It is quite funny, yeah. And but so that's quite nice. I mean, locally I've got quite a following, which is nice. And but you know, I was trying to keep them sort of like going with new things. So
Yeah, and it's always. I mean, I was that cliche guy. Like, if you'd have ever asked me, like, what's your favorite song that you've written, I'm the guy that always says the next one.
mm,
That was. I was always that guy. I was bored, bored with sets so quickly.
yeah,
I always, yeah, always writing, always.
I've
Not anymore.
got about,
Well,
I must have, I
it's
must
in
have at
here.
least I must have at least 50 to 100 unfinished songs, like
Yeah,
sort of somewhere or other on this telephone I'm talking to you from, or my laptop, or like written down
yeah,
somewhere.
yeah,
That then I'll go and revisit them and think, oh, and then I put it down again. Or very rarely will I have like a flash of inspiration, actually do one from start to finish,
yeah,
like in one go, because I'll think, oh, is that good enough? And then I have a massive amount of like self doubt and thinking, oh, and this current one, I mean, I didn't do anything with it at all whatsoever for at least a year. And then I thought, oh, is it any good? And then I sort of played it to people, and they were like, oh my God, why? They were quite shocked with it.
yeah,
I mean, which is quite always nice to do, to surprise and shock people. I mean,
yeah,
shock in a good way. You
yeah.
don't want to shock people with something that's awful, but shock in a good way and think, oh wow, that's amazing. Which is, even if it's just like 10 people that say that to you, it's it makes you think, well, actually, no,
Yeah,
this is definitely worth me doing. Definitely worth me finishing it. Definitely not all the
yeah. I
sort of
think that's always
trauma of completing it.
one of the trickiest things. I think probably for almost any artist, but certainly with a mutual background in music, is to know that it's finished. To know,
Yeah,
because you keep, as you say, you keep coming back
yeah,
to it, you keep
yeah,
tweaking it. Every day
yeah,
you look at it, you feel a different way about it because of your own
yeah,
mood at the
yeah,
time
yeah.
or whatever. It's trash one day, it's really quite good the next, or I don't like this part, but I do like that part. At some point, you've got to say,
Stop.
stop messing with
Yeah,
it. And then
yeah,
at some point, you've got to have the guts to like record it, release it, perform it, or something
yeah,
to other people as well.
yeah.
And it's that
Hard.
that end point, finding that end
Yeah.
point, and
I mean,
is creating. That's one of the hardest parts of the creative
it
process, I think.
There's knowing when to stop. Yeah, it's knowing when to stop. But you're absolutely right. I mean, the amount of times this latest one has gone through so many different configurations. In the end, I have a gentleman in Scotland that does a lot of my music. Some of it I do myself, but
Yeah,
he's brilliant, and he'd made a track for it that was so it was like something like an X Factor winning single, kind of like so completely amazing. But I couldn't sing to it. It was just like it sounded completely wrong for me to do it. And I
yeah,
thought, you suggested finding somebody else to do it. So tried that. Absolutely nobody replied to any of my emails. I mean, I think a song about celebrities being cunt would be quite a good, good subject for a song. But so in the end, I just sang against the piano version of it and liked it so much that I just released that. And I thought, well, you didn't need it. It doesn't need to
yeah,
be like
yeah,
the kitchen sink did not need to be thrown at this song. I mean, sometimes you think, oh, that would have been better if it was like that. But this was just perfect to just be me and a piano. And
yeah. It
so
is.
sometimes
It's
that's sometimes all you need is a piano or a guitar and a singer. That's sometimes you don't need to have everything. I mean, like
yeah.
it sounded great, but
It's one of those songs. It's one of those songs, albeit relatively new to me, but I've listened to it quite quite a number of times. just in this last week, but I can't, you know, imagine it any other way. It
No,
does seem so perfect the way it is. Trying to think, what would it be like with a string section, a horn section? What would it be like with,
yeah. I mean,
bigger
maybe one
drums or
day somebody,
something? It's like,
maybe somebody, yeah,
no,
but maybe somebody else one day will
yeah,
record it and they can
yeah,
do that version of it. But I mean, for me, it, it didn't seem like me. Do you know what I mean? It sounded
yeah,
like I was
yeah.
just a guest on something that you know what I mean. It just didn't seem right. And then I thought, oh no, just do that. And then it was all turned out fine in the end. So
Oh, it's more than fine. Kids, if you're joining us a little bit late and you want to know what we're talking about, you can go check out any of these the fantastic music on anywhere you get music, except probably a record shop if you've still got one
no, no,
where you
unfortunately, no, we're not in record shops yet,
live.
unfortunately. But maybe
but
one day.
anywhere else
Yeah.
that you get your music, you can find it up there. You're looking for Dame Fawn, Denier, all the links you can find them from here. I'm sure you'll find your way there, and you won't be disappointed. Trust me. Um, so the comedy.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about stand-up comedy
Mm.
because that's the thing that I have been in awe of my entire life. I love it when it's. I mean, like any art form, it's subjective. So comedians that I like, somebody else won't, or whatever. But the people that I do like, I really like, and I just find it so smart, so clever, so brave. That I can't. I've been on stage. I've played festivals. I've played to lots of people. I've played to the bar staff when everybody's gone. I've had some adventures. I've got some stories to tell about playing live on stage. But that whole like but one man show, not being
Mm.
able not if it goes wrong, not being able to blame the drummer,
No,
it being all on me. I, I
it's
think
so
that's
it's
crazy. Why would anybody do that?
anything anything can go wrong with it. I mean, the thing is, this is why comedians. I mean, I don't rely on. I mean, I do a lot of it, but I'm not reliant on the whole
Yeah,
thing being me just talking. I mean, I could try that one night, but I'm not reliant on the whole thing being me talking. And whereas, so if like something happens, or something isn't doesn't go quite down quite as well as you'd hoped, or people don't laugh, or somebody gets really offended and starts screaming or whatever,
yeah,
I can go into a song. But if you're not a musician, if you're not a singer, and your entire act is just you, there's no and if when things go wrong, there's not really much where not really many places you can go, is
yeah,
there? I mean, apart from say, God, I need to go for a shit or something. But like, you can't just sort of
yeah,
gloss over it or move on. You've got to, absorb it all. And I think for anyone learning that craft, you have to have such thick skin. If you've basically got a whole bunch of people yelling at you because they're not finding you funny,
yeah,
you've just got to try and deal with it. I mean, but I think comedy has moved on to a point when so much of it isn't even funny, and and people are so scared of offending somebody. That they're actually afraid to be funny, and I think that's where a lot of comedians have taken a bad rap, because they're not prepared to actually say what they really want to say. They just want to skirt round and just be like, nice to everybody with a bit of like innuendo, and I don't really think that's particularly funny. I mean, and I don't think people can be edgy without being offensive, and people can
yeah,
be
yeah,
offensive without. There's nothing wrong with being offensive, because if like somebody isn't offended by what you've just said, it probably isn't funny. I mean, somebody, somewhere, somebody has got to be offended by your joke or by
yeah.
your humour.
It's
Otherwise, what's
ultimately,
the point of it? We're not like singing like Ring a Roses. Somebody's dressed like a bastard or whatever. Somebody looks ridiculous. Someone's hair is disgusting, or
yeah,
you've got some observational like anecdote from a trip to Morrison's that you want to embellish, and 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 if it involves somebody that looks like a back end of a bus or something, and like somebody doesn't like it, well, fine, but I'll never be racist. I mean, I can say the odd funny thing about things, but I mean, never be racist, never be anti anything, but be kind of like ironic for
yeah.
sure.
I mean, the
But
context, it's all about context.
so, for
And the
example,
context is
if you were,
right there. There's a comedian on stage with a microphone. So
if
the
for
context is
example,
there. They're not there, just spewing
they're not reading
vitriol and
out, they're
hatred.
not
It's a
reading out,
comedy set,
they're not
you
reading
know?
out from the phone book. We're not, you know, announcing that till one's closing or something. We're there to be funny and like, and if if for example a gentleman like yourself was in the audience, I couldn't not mention your hair and your beard. I mean,
Yeah,
like, you just have to, wouldn't you? I mean, like, and it would be remiss of any comedian or any sort of act, to see somebody that looks slightly different or unique and individual, not
yeah.
to mention it. I mean, you can make light or you can make fun of somebody without being offensive, and obviously, there's Easter coming up, and I'm sure you've got lots of Jesus jokes around that time of year, which is fine,
Oh, yeah.
and all year round, yeah, and which is absolutely fine, of course,
Yeah.
but and you must be used to it.
If
I
somebody
mean.
can, if somebody can tell me what I haven't heard, I'll
Yeah,
buy him a drink.
well, absolutely, you'll have heard it all, but that's what, but you'll think, oh, here we go again. It's like, because my
Yeah.
name's Adrian, and, anyone, if I say my name Adrian, it's like somebody makes the Rocky,
Oh, yeah.
like, oh, no, fuck, here we go again, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, I've never ever heard that before.
No.
Like,
Yeah. So I mean, so how have you learned to you know, to thicken your skin to hecklers
just be,
or just psychologically just just the like I said just the occasional if it's not hopefully not like a whole bad
no,
performance but just there's one or
I mean,
two things that didn't quite land or whatever.
yeah,
Have
but
you?
sometimes you do. Yeah, like I say, I can gloss over it, or I can make a joke back, or something. But if it's like, or I can go into a song, or I can do something. But you've got to learn that sometimes a joke doesn't work, and so you don't repeat it. But if you think it's just the audience that have misunderstood, you can try it again. But like, I just sort of like, heckle back, or you know. I think when you're dressed up as something else,
Yeah.
you have got that bit more of freedom to be, to answer back, really, I think, than if you're just
Yeah.
there as yourself. It's
Yes. I
not as
mean,
easy.
so I think so. You've been back. So what have we got coming up? What have we got to look forward to in 2025?
Hopefully, some shows. I didn't do that many last year because I had a catalogue of health issues that sort of prevented me from working too much. January is always a good time for me to learn new things, and and develop things for later on in the year. So I'm doing a bit of that at the moment, but hopefully some local gigs like February, March time, and that kind of thing. And I'll definitely keep everybody posted about where I'll be. I don't tend to travel too far. I mean, I'll stay like local to Yorkshire, really, maybe a bit of Greater Manchester, a bit of Lincolnshire, but never really too far. Um, I just can't be asked really traveling all that way. It's just like, people aren't going to want to pay extra money to see, for me to travel like, 2 or 3 hours to
Yeah.
go and perform. So it doesn't always seem to be worth it. Um, I've got I do a lot of wedding crashing. Yeah, so I've got a few of those this year. They're always
All
good
right.
fun. You know, doing that, it should have been me, and always trying to think of different angles to do it. So I've got a few like tricks on my sleeve for those weddings that I'll be interrupting
Yeah.
this
So
year.
you
Yeah.
like are you is it hard to switch off? As you said,
Yeah,
like just an anecdote from a
yeah,
trip to
it is.
Morrison's or whatever. It's like everything's
Well,
material.
everything. Well, everything is like fair game, really. It's like
Yeah,
I'm terrible. Like I'll think of something ridiculously funny or that I think it is, and I'll be walking back to my car, and my husband will say, "What are you laughing at now?" I say, "Oh, nothing, nothing that you need to worry about." You know what I mean? But just silly little random things will come into my head,
yeah,
and then I'll try and turn them into either a story or a joke or something. Or a line, or I might have a daft song title might come into my
yeah,
head or something. Just,
yeah,
but I do find it hard. I do find it hard to switch off from things, and but I do a lot of cooking at home, and I kind of like I can switch off, doing something entirely therapeutic like
yeah.
chopping
Yeah,
vegetables.
I was going to say therapeutic. That shows like your meditation.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's good. Everyone needs a bit of that. I was going to say a story for all the oh for all the rock and roll excess that I've witnessed. I've played for Hell's Angels. I've done some shit, but the only time I've actually seen a performer attacked as they were coming off stage. The only real for all the scary big hairy bikers and people like that I've spent time around. The only time I've seen some serious like head wound was a friend of mine used to do uh, acoustic parody songs. Just
yeah,
a bit of banter, not really stand up comedy as such, but he used to talk for a bit, play for a bit, talk for a bit, play for a bit. And as you were saying earlier, he noticed it was very trendy at the time. All the women were shaving off their eyebrows and painting them on.
yeah,
Uh, and he just noticed one particular woman, as you do, because that's your job. And he actually he didn't like single her out as such. I kind of I I saw him. I know he'd clocked something. I could see him. I saw his eyes dart among the audience, and then so we just talked in general about this idea of drawing on your eyebrows and saying like, I mean, because your eyebrows are very an expressive part of your face. So like, how do you know what mood you're going to be in first thing in the morning? And you've got to stay in that mood all day. Like, I'm going to be really fucking angry.
yeah.
She knew it was about her, although there must have been several women also doing that. But one of them must have taken offence at this because as he did his sort of about 45 minutes, then as he sort of left, came off the stage and walked up the aisle, blast him. Right?
Really.
Yeah. Blast him. The bouncers came, it was all put to one side. But that's probably like, yeah, the most sort of violent thing I've seen towards a performer was just from a guy making a joke about drawing on eyebrows, as opposed to worshipping Satan and heavy metal or whatever.
Funny you should say about eyebrows, because like for drag queens, it was always all the rage to sort of like to put glue. This is how ridiculous it is to put glue over them,
All right.
and then you put this like, and it was like literally was glue. Then you put this other stuff over, and then you put your foundation over your eyebrows, and you draw your eyebrows like about here. So you'd have like, so you could put lots of, but now it's like,
All right. Yeah.
it's more of a natural kind of sort of a shape. But because if I've got a wig on that's quite big, you don't want your eyebrows to be here because you wouldn't, your wig would cover it,
Yeah.
so it'd be
Yeah.
pointless. So mine are just sort of drawn, well, they're just really where they are. Um, but that was like a bit like a bastard getting this glue off. You'd end up like, glue on your bloody eyebrows for about 2 days afterwards. And then it's
Yeah.
like,
And
well, what's the
you
fucking
know,
point?
it looks
Shame I
like an
can't
awful
stop,
lot.
you know what I mean?
It looks like an awful lot of fun, but it looks like an awful lot of hard work as well.
There is a lot of hard work into it. Yeah, there is. I mean, like, looking, obviously, you got to look the part, and I'd love nothing more than just be able to not bother. I mean, sometimes it's like,
Yeah.
oh,
I
for
bet.
fuck's sake. it's like, oh, I really can't be bothered. But you want to go and perform, but you just, especially if it's hot, and it's like, and because I'm quite overweight. Well, I'm not so bad as I used to be, but and like if it's slightly warm and you've got to put makeup on, it's like, oh, it's just
Yeah.
it's horrendous. And if you have to work outside, which I refuse to do, I won't perform outside. It's horrendous because so much can go wrong, and it will, and it can fuck the night up completely. So if you have to work outside, and it's like hot, and it's just a nightmare for a drag queen. It really is.
See, I'm
You're like
always
air
learning something. I'm
conditioning.
always learning something.
You're like air conditioning, and fuck the environment. I don't care. We want air conditioning. We don't, and we want straws that are made from plastic. These wooden ones, or whatever they're made from, I don't know, bits
Yeah,
of shit. I don't know. They are disgusting, and the roof of your mouth, they feel rancid.
yeah.
And I'm all very well for. I mean, I'm quite good with the environment. I use eco washing up liquid, But I mean, I'm sure that if the plastic police came to our house, we'd be arrested. The amount of bottled water we buy. But my husband refuses to turn the cold tap on unless there's some like an emergency. There's a fire needs to be put out or something. He refuse. He will not. He will not drink cold water. Water from the tap has to be either boiled or not. He won't have it. So we buy bottles of water by the dozen from Morrison's or wherever we happen to be at the time. And so we're not too environmentally friendly. All my liberal friends from the
You know
south would
what?
be horrified.
I'm sure you don't collect all your empty bottles, drive down to the coast, and throw them all in the sea.
No,
Like
no, I
I'm
don't
pretty
get
sure.
invited.
In order to be being eco-friendly is it's less on us and more on the governments and the big businesses to get their shit together.
Yeah,
There's this thing called science and technology. We've put men on the fucking moon. We've got robots on Mars. All of this great shit. We've got the internet. It's fantastic. I put this bottle in this green bin. Somebody gets paid to come and collect it, and then this bottle gets used again in some good way.
yeah,
It
somewhere or
can't be
another.
that
Yeah,
fucking hard to work this shit out
no.
at this
But
point.
now, of course, the lids don't come off, which is so like you can end up like giving yourself a black eye by
Yeah.
the thing and it'll pop back on. It's just
So,
you
like,
get
well, you can recycle this type of plastic, but we can't recycle that type of plastic. Well, either stop using that type of plastic
yeah,
or learn how to recycle that type of plastic because we use it a lot and it's very good and very useful. Like, I'm sure some
absolutely,
egghead out there knows exactly what to do, just needs the funding,
yeah,
and we can
possibly,
just
possibly.
recycle everything. I'm pretty sure if
Half of it
if we
goes. I mean,
really know what to.
I'm sure most of what we recycle ends up being landfilled anyway. I mean, I just don't know whether
It's hard to trust them,
people.
isn't it?
You just don't know, do you? But you've got to show
Anyway,
willing, so
on a lighter note, it's about that time of the evening. If you want to play a game, you can't lose. There's no prizes, unfortunately, because
right.
there's no money involved in this. Maybe one day, if I ever get any money, I'll blow it all on big fabulous prizes. I've got no glamorous assistant either, so Um, but I like to play a little bit of just this or that. It's really
Oh
simple.
yeah,
No wrong answers. Starting with the perennial, obvious, and boring cats or dogs.
cats,
That was easy. Beer or wine?
wine,
Hey. Pizza or kebab?
pizza.
Right, now, is that a vegetarian thing or just a pizza thing?
No, I don't like kebabs. I think they're disgusting.
Well, we were talking about recycling. That's very much the leftovers, isn't it? It's all testicles
It's
and eyebrows and shit. So
who
each
knows?
their own.
Even the vegetable ones. I mean, look, I don't mind. Sometimes some of these restaurants these days are doing these things that are called hanging kebabs. Now, where you've got like a skewer which is kind of dangling on a bit of something, and then it with bits of meat and
Yeah.
and peppers and stuff. They're quite nice. But like, I don't like, where you go into like when you're drunk and you go into like one of these places, kebab shops, I think they call them, and they've got this thing which is like, I don't even know what it is, but it's like a phallic symbol from Egypt or something, and they shave it, and
Yeah,
they're like,
yeah.
what the fuck's all that anyway? No, I don't like any of that. Well, no, I'm not eating any of that. But
Okay.
like, I don't mind them hanging kebabs of, they're quite nice. But I don't like the shaved ones.
How about not a fan of the shaving either.
You don't know? No, absolutely
Clearly.
not. No.
Country retreat or city living?
Country retreats.
Yeah. Which everybody says that to the point that
Um,
if we did it, the
I
country's now the city.
I
But
used to live in London. I used to live in London. I'll never ever want to do that again.
no. Um, what else have I got here? Oh, skydiving or scuba diving?
Neither.
Neither.
Or muff diving. We don't do that either.
Okay. Would you consider yourself a leader or a follower?
A leader? No, I don't know, to be honest. I don't. That's a very,
It,
very interesting question.
it's a very
I know when to.
loaded
I
question, is
know.
what it
I
is. I
know
admit.
when. I know when to lead, and I also know when to follow. And sometimes you can do both at the same time.
There you go, kids. Um, uh, big parties or small gatherings?
Say that again. Sorry.
Big parties or
Small
small
gather. Small,
gatherings?
small gatherings.
Quality over quantity, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Would you rather have money or free time?
Free time. Depending though, I mean, if it's a lot of money, if it's a decent amount, then I think, well, okay, that'd be nice. But if it's like, 20 quid or
Yeah.
even 50, I think I'd rather have the spare
Free
time.
time. Well, I've
Mm.
never really had any serious money. I like to think enough of it, you can buy free time.
Yeah,
If someone else, if you can pay, if you have the kind of cash where you can pay someone else to do all the boring shit you don't want to do so that you can write songs and sort
yeah,
your wig out or
yeah,
whatever you need to do, that's
yeah,
more interesting,
yeah.
then yeah. But I don't know if that works.
I think it does. I think it
But
does. I think
never
it
had
does.
any. Okay. Polka dots or stripes?
Stripes.
Stripes. See, that was good. Straight away.
Mm.
Do you see that? Past guests, I'm talking to you. That's the question that fucks everybody up. That's the one question that
Why?
seems to have the most thought put into it. Like, spots or stripes. Oh my
No,
god.
it's definitely
I mean,
stripes.
I've even been asked like horizontal or vertical stripes. Like, I've not thought about it that much. It was just a stupid question. But no, yeah. Okay. Would you rather see a puppet show or a magic show?
Magic show.
Magic show. Okay. So, do you like the kind of the close up, pick a card, any card, find the cup in the ball, magic,
No, I like
or do you
illusion.
want
I
to
like
see like the Empire State Building disappear?
illusions. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't think they're maybe like they're so big that you can't believe in it? You know?
Yes, but I like to be proved wrong. I like to go in, I like to think I'm going to be very cynical and think this is going to be a complete load of bollocks, and then like be
Yeah.
astounded when it's actually when I like to be surprised by these illusionists, and I'm always prepared to give them give them a second. Give them a second
Yeah.
thought, thinking, oh yeah, this might be real, you know what I mean? But knowing damn well it isn't. But if it looks good,
Yeah. No, that's a good way of looking at it. I like that. As we go. Okay. So got two more questions. Now they could be one word answers or you could have some fantastic stories. And then I'll let you go, however this pans out. So I always ask this. Have you ever seen a UFO?
no, I don't think so. I may have
No, me
done,
neither.
but I don't know. We did see something queer in the garden a few weeks ago, but we're not sure. I wasn't sure. I wouldn't say it was definitely a UFO, but it was like an unidentified object. But I don't know how intergalactic it was. But
Well, it's an unidentified with the F.
Yeah,
It's flying
it was.
object, I guess. Any
Yeah,
unidentified object
it was moving.
anywhere.
Put it that, whether it was flying or not, I don't know. I wouldn't like to say, but it was definitely moving.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's because of the instant association with aliens,
yeah,
which I guess comes through entertainment and media and everything. Actually, officially, we're supposed to call it a UAP now. It's
a UA what?
a UAP, which is
No, no,
something
wait.
like an unidentified aerial projectile or something like
Oh,
that. Um,
I,
which
I don't
nobody,
get me. I
which
can't be
nobody
doing with.
except
I can't be doing with new terminology. I mean, like
no, which
I'm still on Oil of Ulay, the Abbey
yeah,
National, and the Midland Bank and marathon. So don't
yeah,
start me on anything like I
it's the
won't
marathon.
remember it. So don't
And
bother trying to don't educate me on these new fandangled ways
no,
of saying
no,
things.
I'm with you. They are opal fruits, and I'll deck anybody who says they're not.
Oh, Opal fruits as well, of course. Yeah, well, I never even what are they called. What are they properly called? What are they called now?
What is it?
Stars. No, Starburst.
Starburst.
That's it.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so have you ever seen a ghost?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh, story time.
I think it was at the same time as I saw the unidentified
All
object in the
right.
garden. But, yeah. Yes, I did. It was like it moved objects in the garden that couldn't have been. There was no other explanation for them moving, including a chair that we took it outside waiting for the council to come and collect it because we didn't want it anymore.
Yeah.
And for no apparent reason, and we had it on our Ring doorbell, it moved from one end of the garden to the other.
Wow.
Yeah, and with such force that it made a noise while it was doing it. And it was windy. It was nothing was happening outside that could have like explained it moving, but it moved.
How did you find that unsettling, scary, or is it
Literally,
just really
I
interesting and
thought
curious?
it was quite interesting actually that somebody was like objecting to something. We didn't know what it was. I wasn't singing at the time, so it couldn't have been that. So, but no, I don't know. I mean, it was just very interesting that we caught it on our Ring. It had a notification on the Ring doorbell that it was happening, and saw it. But it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and we weren't going out to have a look. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, ghosts. I do believe the ghosts exist definitely.
There's I have had no such interactions, but I have way too many stories, especially over the last year since I've been doing this. And since I decided to just throw that question out there, I've had way too many stories um, to not. There's something going on that we don't understand and probably never will. That's a fact.
Definitely.
So on that note, kids, I'm going to let you get your tea.
Oh, good. Don't worry, we're
um,
having yet. Anyway.
this 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 has been Adrian, aka Dame Fawn, Denier. Line up those socials, give them a follow, check out the music. I strongly suggest you check out the music, especially the new one, Leave Behind. It's a little bit special. I really like that. I might listen to it again in just a few minutes' time while
Yeah.
I'm just getting some shit put away. Um, look out
Thank you,
for
Johnny, for
upcoming.
inviting me on. Thank you
Oh,
for inviting me on. I've really
it's been
enjoyed
a
it.
pleasure. It's been fantastic. Keep your eyes open. Get on the socials, kids. Keep your eyes open for upcoming performances. You won't regret it. And thank you for taking the time to come and talk to some complete stranger for an hour. It's I started doing this to get out of my comfort zone, talking to complete strangers. If anyone was stupid enough to agree to it. And thankfully, there's lots of stupid people around, and they're all beautiful, fantastic, intelligent, clever, artistic, wonderful people. And most of them all go, well, I don't know if I've really got much to say.
Oh, I
And
can
hopefully
talk for
they
hours.
surprise themselves.
I can talk for hours. I don't need. There's never an issue with me not having anything to say at all. I probably have too much to say. That's my problem. But anyway, I'm
Well,
sure you bring out the best. I'm sure you bring out the best in all your guests. Anyway.
Well, I'm hopefully I'm learning that skill. One thing I have learned, because I did always struggle with petering out and kind of mumbling away and slowly ending the show somehow, but I've I've found a way to do that now by not doing it. You get to do it. Um, I've decided I've come up with a catchphrase, and if all the guests can just sign off the show, if you'd be so kind to oblige me, if you can just say, till next time, keep it foxy.
Till next time, keep it
Thank
foxy.
you very much indeed. Thank you very much for your time. It's been a
You're
pleasure.
welcome. You're welcome. I'll see you later.